with another video. This is going to be MJV video. I don't know why, but I love MJV's videos. Like, they're so crisp and clear in animation. I just love his stories too. And I feel like this one's going to be another good one. So, true, bizarre. Oh, I thought it said Blizzard. Okay. Bizarre horror story animated. So, 11 minutes long, and let's go.
I do admit this story is a very fine line between bizarre and abusive, but overall, it's the creepiest thing that's ever happened to me. In all honesty, I've had a lot of creepy encounters, known a lot of normal people that ended up doing very bad things. Sometimes I almost feel like I'm cursed to make friends with rough edges. This whole situation started when I was a sophomore in high school. I showed up to school one day and noticed a new boy in my class. I was your atypical goth girl, and this guy was a teenage bad boy dream. Piercings, leather jacket, reading some sort of obscure novel. I was hooked at first sight. I introduced myself, and soon enough we were dating. He will henceforth be referred to as X for the rest of the story. Now, for a little background. I was brought up in an alcoholic parent's home.
First I was like, what, is that you guys?
There were many times I was living by myself or with a friend, because one of my parents was in the hospital. Despite the chaos in my family life, I still managed to go to school every day.
Good.
And pull in decent enough grades.
Very good. I'm proud of
After
you.
one time too many, however, I was left for 2+ months living alone. Instead of coming home to an empty house, I asked X if I could live with him since he was closer to school.
I guess that makes sense.
He and his parents happily welcomed me into their home. At this point in the
parents look extremely
relationship,
sus.
maybe 5 months in, we were phasing out of the puppy love stage, and I was starting to notice some very serious red flags. X was very mental, and started cutting regularly. His parents were very heavy drug users.
Oh, I knew that
There
was
would be
sus.
times I would try talking to X and would literally stare off into space and not notice my existence.
Hello.
He was never mean or abusive towards me, but I could definitely tell something was unhooking in him. When we started living together, it started to become very evident something was very, very wrong. He started to tell me he thought he was possessed by demons and couldn't control himself. We both spiraled into moderate drug use. I started skipping school, and he started seeing more of these demons. In all truth, I hadn't realized what a hole I had dug myself into by living with him. One night, we ended up falling asleep after smoking a bowl and watching a movie. It was a big house, and we were living in the garden-level basement, 2 or so floors below his parents and siblings. Around midnight, I was woken up by the most frightening screech I'd ever heard. X was right next to me in bed, contorting, convulsing, and screaming bloody murder. At first, I thought it was just a seizure. I've seen friends have seizures before.
Just
and
a
I didn't
seizure?
interfere, only looking for one of our cell phones to call 911. As I got up out of the bed, he looked me dead in the eyes. The blood drained from my veins. I've never seen such hate. And everything seemed to happen in flashes from there. He never broke eye contact as he slowly rose from the bed. It almost looked as if he was a marionette on a set of strings, pulled up with sunken shoulders. A half-smile formed on his face as his body twitched. He started walking towards me. I can't describe how terrified I was, cornered in the room, opposite to the door. I felt my ears swell and ring. He started screeching at me, coming within a centimeter of my face, never breaking his gaze. I started pushing him, yelling at him to cut it out, but it was like trying to push away a stone statue. He would not move. He finally started talking, ranting about the demon and not making a single word of sense. As bizarre as it was, I knew he was having some sort of mental episode. I truly did fear for my life and knew I needed to escape. Suddenly, I felt as if I was sucked back into the moment, and my senses were incredibly acute. I noticed the window we had cracked open earlier. I pushed the window back, punched through the screen, and climbed out as he stood silently staring after me. I'm pretty sure I stayed outside for an hour, hyperventilating before I decided to ring the doorbell. One of his parents answered, very confused, and set me up with a blanket on the couch on the first floor with no questions asked. In the morning, X came up and acted as if nothing had happened, no matter how much I pestered him about it. It was as if it had all been a bad dream. I made arrangements to stay with another friend that day, and broke up with X about a week after, once I was actually able to face him again. Sometimes I wonder if it had been some sort of sick joke to get me out of his house or out of the relationship, but I watched unshocked in the years after, as he fell into severe drug abuse and mental illness. At one point, I went to a school counselor and told him how worried I was for him, but it only made him hold a grudge against me. After everything that happened, I really started to feel sorry for him, and sort of weirdly forgave him for what he did. He tried contacting me a few times after everything that happened, but as the years went by, I heard less and less. Last I heard, he was addicted to meth and living on the streets.
Oh shit.
I'm 23 years old.
Yeah, drugs are bad, don't
and as
get
a
into
child, my family and I would spend all 3 months of summer at my grandpa's huge farmhouse in Tirana, Albania, which is around 7 miles from the nearest town. Apart from an old computer, my grandparents have a complete lack of recent technology, so I often found myself exploring woods, taking long relaxing walks, which I liked because it gave me time to think.
Sus.
And a lot of the time, I went hunting with my dad and grandpa in search of coyotes and foxes which would kill our livestock. Just to be more clear, I'd been taught to shoot for years at this point, and I found myself to be quite a good shot. One particular day, it was around 1 p.m. Bored out of my mind, I decided to take my grandpa's 2 German shepherds for a walk. Eventually we got to one of my favourite places, a crystal clear river.
Like, it looks good,
around
like, it
7
looks
foot
nice
wide.
and cool, but at the same time, I was sus at night time.
Walking, I noticed a tall man on the other side of the river, with his back turned to me.
There it is.
He was wearing a pair of black jeans and a hoodie, which I found odd considering it's around 80 degrees this time of year. Even more concerning is that there's usually nobody around for at least a few miles. Despite this, I spoke to him and asked if he was lost or if he needed any directions. He ignored me completely, not even acknowledging I was there. I continued to walk and had eventually made some distance from this person. Then I heard him crossing the river and come across to the side I was standing on. I turned around to see him, just standing there, with his eyes wide open, almost as if he was surprised to see me. Trying not to think much of this, I continued walking, only to notice that he was following me at a slightly faster pace. I turned around and said, "Do you want something, sir?" I said this in confidence, simply because I had my grandpa's 2 dogs with me. He began to walk much faster towards me. Now I was genuinely scared. I knew nothing of this man, who he was, what he wanted, if he was armed. So I ran. To avoid leading him directly to my grandpa's farmhouse, I cut through a small woodland, at which point I thought I'd lost him and continued to make my way back home. I spoke nothing of this to my parents.
No curtain.
That same night, I went ahead to my room and decided to call it a night. At around 2 p.m, I was woken with the sound of
2
leaves
a.m. or
being
2
stepped
p.m.?
on right
2 a.m.
outside the sliding door to my room.
Yeah, it's 2 a.m.
Slightly alarmed, I decided to not get worried, hoping it was just one of the dogs. So I lay back down, facing away from the door. A few seconds later, I saw this shadow creep up at my door. I was frozen in pure shock.
Do you not have like a...
Slowly turning around, I saw the figure of a man. I rushed to switch on the lamp by the side of my bed and quickly picked up my grandpa's old Carcano rifle. Trying to sound intimidating, I told the guy to get away in a rather squeamish voice. He stood there for a few seconds.
Is that your door?
And then
Why
quickly
is it all
pushed my
see-through?
sliding door to the side.
Oh, sliding door.
Knowing full well I didn't have it in me to shoot him, I screamed for my dad as loud as I could.
Yeah, that's
He
smart. You
continued
just
to
have
stare
your...
at me
You
until
have
my
the thing
dad
open.
barged the door open, and he ran into the woodland. In anger, my dad took the rifle out of my hands and started shooting into the night,
Oh,
in
shit.
hopes of one of the rounds catching him. The next morning, the police were called, but could do nothing about it apart from file a report. I didn't know if it was the man from the river or not.
That was clearly him.
So again, I ended up saying nothing. I thought if I did, I could get an innocent man arrested. Around 2 weeks later, I still hadn't gotten over what had happened. On that day's paper, we saw an article titled 18-year-old boy murdered in his sleep.
Oh my god.
I translated this as best as I could from Albanian. At the bottom of the article, there was a picture of the man I saw at the river.
Like he died or he
With the
did the
same
killing?
surprised expression, as if he had no idea what was going on. My parents didn't let me fully read the article, knowing it would just make me feel worse. To this day, I feel two things. Regret that I didn't pull the trigger, and guilt, knowing that if I had, that boy would still be alive today. His figure still haunts me.
Okay, so now that's obviously the suspect, right? That guy. Like he obviously wasn't the guy that was killed. He was the suspect in the killing. So. How did my cat come from just under the bed? Yeah, I mean that's obviously really sad. I mean, at the same time, if you had like a mental illness, like you don't just want to shoot someone that has a mental illness. You know what I mean? Like you don't just want to kill people or kill just anyone just because like they seem out of it. Because like, you know, anybody could have like a mental illness, schizophrenia, any little thing that they could have. If they're obviously dangerous and like they're actually threatening you or that they're trying to murder you, then of course I would understand that, right? But I don't know, it's just hard to say because like you don't, like actually killing someone, that's kind of scary to me, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but I hope he gets the help he needs. I hope he goes to jail to, you know, for his thingy, his crimes that he's committed. If that was the only one, then only that one, of course. But you know what I mean, like. I hope he didn't do anything bad to anybody else, and I hope he gets help that he needs. I hope he gets the help that he needs. And R.I.P. to that 18-year-old that died, because like, obviously he did not deserve that. At first of all, I wasn't sure if he murdered someone or if he was the one murdered, you know what I mean? But of course, the story clarified that for me. That's going to be it. Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of this video, what you guys thought of my reaction, and I'll see you guys in the next one. If you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments below. Turn on post notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.